Hello, well here again, and we are back again in the creation kit, carrying on with the Sunken City. Now this episode hopefully is not going to be as long, so I'm not going to waffle on as long, as we're going to get started on some, one of the elements of the Sunken City, which is going to be effectively, to a degree, the entry hall, though it's sort of like probably will end up not connecting, or I'll probably build the lift in there, but obviously we're just doing the entry hall, we're not doing the whole city, as we're going to be doing it kind of modular in the ways of building it. So it's like, I'm going to build a room, or at least part of a room, and then go on from there, bang bang bosh, rather than trying to do it all in one bloody video, because that's just at least suicidal for me. So right, and also we're going to actually cover more on the actual what you need to do certain things, rather than it just being a overview of what all this stuff is, an overview of what this is, an overview of the render window, and after that, you're going to get more into the actual how to make stuff, how to do stuff, rather than just a basic introduction. So right, so we want to create now a new interior space, a new interior cell space. To do that, and also I have decided to capture my cursor because I forgot to do it in the last video. Obviously it probably was a bit hard to keep track of where I actually was, because I couldn't use the cursor to point where I was, but now I've got the cursor on, so it should be a bit easier for people or you lot, anyone who watches basically, to sort of keep track of where I am because I've got the cursor. But right, so how to create a new interior space. So how to create a new one of these without the black squares on it. I don't know why they are there. They are just there for some yep, they are just there for some reason. I have no idea why. Anyway, so how are we going to create a new interior space like this? It's pretty simple. All we need to do is go to the south view window here, and we're just going to go up. I'm going to go up to the top. Now the one I normally, technically you could do this with any of these, technically, any one of these. But if I'm creating something from scratch, completely brand new from scratch, without having some kind of base template to it, just to explain a base, what I mean by base template is basically, if I wanted to create a building that was like this, had a very, had a at least I was thinking of doing something that had a similar layout to this. What I would do then is I would actually duplicate this cell and then remove everything in it apart from the actual building. So then I would have an empty building. So therefore then I wouldn't need to rebuild or build the building, because I've got the base template of the building already there. It's just now empty, and I can put what I want in it. Which is something that some modders do. They do just basically duplicate a pre-existing cell, empty it out, and fill it up with what they want. I've done it. Lots of other modders have done it. But what do you do if you want to create it from brand new, from scratch? What you're going to do, the cell that I always use is this one, the marker storage unit, because it has the minimalist amount of stuff to remove. So what you're going to do is you're going to basically right click on the AAA markers, right click, so then you get this one here. They've got view, edit, delete, duplicate, and use info. And we're going to go duplicate cell, and then as you can see here we have a duplicate. Now what we're going to do is you're going to click it once so it goes blue, and then you just click it again, and then we're going to give it a new editor ID, and we're just going to call it 0, and then cities, and then Sunken City. Bosh. Now As you can see, we've gone back down here, but if we go back to the top, here is our new cell. Load that up. We're just going to press the M to get the markers on. And we're going to just swing the camera around, which you do that by holding down the shift key and then moving your mouse. We're going to grab this dragon. So we get this weird, like, obviously you get this bounding box around him. And then you just press delete on your keyboard and he disappears. Now, normally sometimes when you duplicate a pre-existing cell, sometimes they might have things in there that are linked to quests or linked to, well, you know, kind of whatever. But that is not too much a problem if you delete that item from your duplicate version of the cell, because since you duplicated it and then changed the editor ID, it's kind of basically like the game doesn't recognize it if you remove it and then go into the game with it, with that cell, because the game is basically saying that this item is in this particular cell, that's in this particular area, which your cell may not be. So therefore then the game will not tell you, or the quest in the game anyway, will not either tell you to try and go to that cell or break the quest because you removed that item, because it still has its original reference. So don't worry about removing quest items if you're working in a duplicated pre-existing cell. Alright, so we are going to turn on the snap grid, and we are also going to turn on snap angle. And what we're going to do, we are going to go down and we are going to go to static. We're going to press the little plus and we're going to bring up white submenus, so many submenus. Yes, it's a lot of submenus, but it's easy to navigate once you kind of know the general gist of where most things are. And we are going to go to here. We're going to go to DLC2 and we want to go, basically for this, for the Sunken City, I want to go to the Dwemer, because Sunken City and the second city will be of Dwemer architecture. Now you would think it would be in here, in architecture, but it's not, because since the Dwemer ruins are normally a dungeon crawl, they fall under dungeons rather than architecture. Alright, so we got this. Now, the hardest thing about with this is trying to sometimes designate, like trying to figure out where certain things are, especially if there's something specific. Say for, like, example, when it comes to Dwemer ruins, I don't know, let's say, you know, the lift shaft. You think, oh, is it in big halls? Is it in large halls? Is it in rooms? Platforms? What's it in? Easiest way to figure that out is if you go up to filter up here. So you just go up here, go to filter, type in a word relating to what you're trying to find. So in this case I'm trying to find a lift shaft, so I'm going to type in lift, and then I'm going to click on Dwemer, and then here we go. And then so we've got a Dwemer facade. So now that we can see that we've got facade in the name here, I now know, well I knew in the first place, but now you know, I know, if it was my first time, that the lift shafts are in facades. Now you got, obviously you got down and you got up, and you got another one that's like lever static, but we're not going to worry about that. But since this was inside the city, we are obviously going to be going up, because we need to come down the lift to actually get into the city. So we are going to select lift up. You know, you just grab it, you just hover your mouse over it, press left button, drag over and drop. There we go, we got a lift shaft. So as you can see, it does look a bit odd. You know, as you can see, it doesn't have its outer wall, but that is fine because we're not going to see the outside of this. Because obviously when you're in here, when you're actually inside, all you see is the inside. So we're not going to see the outside, so it doesn't matter if the outside of it is actually invisible. We don't need to worry about that. So now the next issue is obviously we do actually technically have 4 holes. We've got 4 holes, so we've got 4 holes to fill in. Alright, so now we need to figure out what the size of these are here. So these are most likely going to be let's have a look, because we've got big holes, large rooms. So we're going to have a look at, so see, this is where things become a little bit more difficult with some of the stuff, because we got small rooms, but obviously the small rooms isn't going to work because we need a hallway. So you know, you can look at it, bada bing, bada boom, bosh, because these don't look that big. So then we're going to have a look at large halls. So you know, we've got a bunch of large halls. We've got hallway, long way, 0, 1, 0, 1. We got large 1, large 1, a large 2, large 3, large 4. All of these basically, the number, like when it's LG4, LG3, it's basically, it depends, that's basically, you know, how many doorways there are. So for example, LG4, as you can see, has 4 openings. LG3 will have 3, LG2 is basically a corner, and blah, blah, blah. Now the problem is if we look at that, it's massive in comparison. It's absolutely ginormous, and obviously it wouldn't really work because obviously we put it in place, and if we look back around, obviously it doesn't fix. So we go back to facades. Now we're back in facades. What we're going to do, gotta go to filter and type in door, and there's nothing in facades in door. Okay, so we're gonna have to look at this manually. So we got facade tower preview. So as you can see, we do have a wall, but that's not what we're looking for, though that will work. We do have tower arch, and that is what we are looking for. So we could, you know, we could put that in, bosh, spin it around, and then basically use the snap grid to help us line this up correctly. Unfortunately, my keyboard is being an asshole. There you go. So anyway, so we're gonna look about lining this up. So we're just gonna move this. No, we don't want that. We're gonna move that over and then bosh. Okay. So we'll just move once more. Okay, so we now move back, and then there we go. Right, sorted. So now we can move this over here, and we have a look around, and if we look around, it now actually lines up and matches basically what we're looking for. But obviously we still got this bit of a gap up here. All we're going to do is just basically get a facade tower, bring that in. We're going to have to go to the other side, spin it around, go back around here, and then we just basically, now you can press the Z key, or Z, depends on how you want to pronounce it, and you can use this to move it up or down basically in a straight line without it going off all over the shop. If you press the X, you can move it basically side to side, and if you press C for cat, it will go back and forth. So what we want to do is we're going to go push, so we want to line it up, then we want to go up to that point there, and then there we go. So we got that now all covered up. We can move the camera to make sure there's no gaps in the ceiling, and then bosh, done. Alright, now we just need to fill in these little gaps here, so we need to see what we got on here that we may be able to use. Now we do actually have some other things here. As you can see, we've got little hallways, but you know, we want to go for a grander entrance than some little cramped little space that is just barely big enough to fit something in. I don't know, but you know, it's tiny, we want it to be bigger. So, but now we need to find a way to fill these in these other gaps, because we don't want to use any of these other gaps. So what we could do, theoretically, is get the walls, bring in the walls, and because it doesn't matter if we end up having this in here, because we're going to be covering that up with a lift, but we do have a problem with it clipping through here. so we're not going to have a look. So we're going to see what else there is. Which, a nice way to have a look, be able to see things before putting them in, is if you right click on it, and you can go to preview. Click on preview, and then you can see how it looks inside before putting it in. So what we could do is we could see how this one looks, for example, and you can see that's two of them together. So we're going to put that in, and we're going to have a look and see how it looks. This is all, a lot of this can be put down to experimentation. So we're going to throw that in there, and I'm going to see how well that works. Unfortunately, pretty badly. So that doesn't really work very well. And then you got other stuff like tower spaces and this down here, so we got nothing actually in here. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to have, so I'll be back once I find what I'm actually looking for, because there are different ways you can fill these in, and obviously, oh, I think I found it. So we got an alcove, so let's have a look at alcove. That could work. Or we have end cap. We are probably going to want to go for the alcove here. So we're going to drop in the alcove, I'm going to spin that around. And we're going to have a look. It needs to be raised up by 1. Move back until we get the gap, and then bosh, and then there you go. So we've now filled in the gap. Let's spin around. Now obviously you can see I didn't actually need to go over here to drop it in again, because what you could do very easy enough obviously is just go and hover over the item that you've got selected, right click, duplicate, spin it around, so you can just right click and then duplicate, and then it will basically duplicate whatever you've got selected. And then off. And then there we go. There is lift. Now we've got to put something up there. See. Now, what do we put up here? Because we can't have it open like that. So what we're going to do is we are going to put in here plane. Kind of plane. And then what we're just going to do, we're going to go up and we're going to click on static. There you go. And then you got this black pane 01. Move down in, and there you go. You got a black pane. Problem is, when you look at it from underneath, it's invisible. So how do we spin this around? Well, what you do is, if you can either press X or C to bring up these arrows, and with those, you can basically. And then if you right click, hold on to your right mouse button, and then you can basically move it. Each one does different directions, but in this case it doesn't matter about the direction, because it's basically a flat square. And high enough, and we'll put it there, and there you go. Right, sort of. And there you go. That's the best we're going to get with that badger. And then that's it. So right. So to recap on what we can do is, you can use this filter search bar here to help you find particular things that you're looking for, whether it be certain pieces of architecture, certain NPCs, certain magic effects, certain weapons, certain items, blah blah. It's just basically filters out all the stuff that you're not looking for to help you try and find the stuff that you are looking for. You can right click on things to then duplicate them, edit them, delete them. Though you don't really want to delete it, because then that deletes it all instances of it in the game, so I'm not going to do that. It's silly. And obviously you're going to go for dungeons if you're trying to build something like a Dwemer ruin, or if you're wanting to build something that is either a cave or a fort. Or about that, you're going to want to look in dungeons for that one. If you're building like a mini town or something like that, then you'll go for architecture. But right, so we just don't drag on with this. you've seen some of the basics of how this works. So you know, you find what you're looking for, hold your left mouse button down, drag it over, and it will place it in the render window. Then you place it to where you want it to be. I would suggest when you're building like this to first have your snap grid and snap angle on, because therefore then there's less chance of there being any gaps in the final project. And there you go, and you can just experiment around with different things. But this obviously, this is just basically creating a basic shell. So when it comes to actually like finding all the other stuff like ramps and stuff like that, you can use the search bar to help you with that, and just down the other. So I will be back once I've got the first basics of this room done. So I will be back in a second. Right, and we're back. As you can see, it's grown a little bit. I haven't obviously done anything too mad. I've just added, obviously had a hallway here. I've added a couple of ramps in going down. I've used the large rooms tab, so I've used this one here to do this little area here, and obviously I've just used the large or the algae halls to get this and to get these ramps here. So the first room we're going to build is the entry hall. You know, some kind of, you know, just like little like entry hallway. You know, it's like a little statement piece to say, here we are, and here you are in our city that is underwater. Now, obviously, due to obviously game mechanics and this and the other, obviously I can't actually literally put this actual city underwater. That's, well, I can, but then the problem is certain things won't work, certain horizons will be flown all over the place, NPCs will act differently, blah blah blah, you know, and it just doesn't work. So I need to create the illusion that you are underwater. So the person who I'm collaborating on with this, called Dragonblade Kal-El, is basically, the way that this is working is that Dragonblade Kal-El is kind of like acting as basically effectively director of the Sunken City. So, you know, he's sending me little sort of like rough drawings of layouts for inside the rooms, with the basic stuff of what he wants there to be, what he wants to be in there, and obviously I'm just doing like the finite touches, this, that, and the other. He's also writing all the lore for the Sunken City, or at least what lore he wants there to be in it, and you know, and creating some of the characters. You know, he's basically come up with the characters for the Sunken City, some other people in the Sunken City, giving some of them backstories, and this, that, and the other. You know, so he's pretty much basically producing and directing the Sunken City, and I'm the one who's building it because I'm the one who actually has the know-how on how to actually build it. Whereas the second city is basically I'm being director and producer of that city. You know, so I'm the one who's coming up with the characters, I'm going to be the one who's coming up with the lore, the standing, blah blah blah, you know, kind of thing. So basically the same thing as what Dragonblade is doing with the Sunken City, but I'm in charge with the second one. And there is going to be a subplot story, which I'm not going to obviously spoil here, but there is going to be obviously a subplot story that basically brings the two cities together and intertwines their stories into one amalgamation to basically create a story of another event or area or person or thing or whatever. You know, it could be many things. It could be an event, it could be just a generalised history, it could be bloody anything. You can all speculate. So, right, now with that little credit out the way, we can now begin on actually putting stuff in here. So I've got his little perspective, his little drawing here. with the layout and what he wants in there. So one thing I need to do is I need to basically build a maid statue who has their hands out and obviously is holding some kind of form of magic light in their hands to generate kind of light. Lucky enough, that's pretty easy. That's nice and easy, that is. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay within static, and we are going to go down to, or up in this case, and we're going to go to clutter. So we're just going to shrink that down, and we're going to open up clutter. As you can see in clutter, more sub-menus, loads of sub-menus, but we're looking for a statue. So what we're going to do is we just need to go down and we can find statues, and then click on statues, and then boosh. Now lucky enough, there is literally only one statue in the entire game, as far as I'm aware, that really has their hands kind of held out in any kind of form or manner. So we're going to have a look and we'll see if we can find it on here. Are we actually in this one? Or am I wrong? You know what? I might actually be wrong here. It might not be in clutter. Ooh. So alright. So we can't find it in that one. So what we're going to do is we're going to put statue in the search bar, and we are going to click on static, and then as you can see we've got a load more here. Now why the mage statue isn't in, why this damn thing isn't in the wasn't in the statues, or if it was, I didn't bloody see it. Did you not see it? Am I just being blind? No, I'm not being blind, it's not there. Anyway, but we can obviously just put the statue in the filter bar and then bosh. So we got the main statue, so we'll have a look at it and then boosh. Here we are. And here we have a problem. It's covered in snow. Because obviously this is the statue that you would normally tend to see within Winterhold. So the thing is now, how do we get rid of that snow? Well, lucky enough, to get rid of the snow is fairly easy. All we need to do is right click on the statue and then duplicate the statue. After that, you're going to want to double click your duplicate, and then we come up with this little tiny menu here. Now to get rid of that snow, now that is actually, it is a directional material. You can see snow material, Winterhold. To get rid of it, all we need to do is to basically put it on none, and then that's it. The snow is removed. There are a bunch of other things that you can add to different items and stuff like this, that, and the other. Most of it is snow, but we want to get rid of the snow, so we're going to click none. And then there you go, that will actually get rid of the snow on the statue. Now here's the next thing. Though it's, I could put the statue in as it is, the problem is the stone statue does not match the kind of stone that the Dwemer ruin is made of. But also, you can't find another statue that's like it. So what do? Well, one thing we can do is we can go to here and we can edit. Now as you can see, we got the statue and there is no snow. So this is what the statue currently looks like at the moment. So there is an advanced thing, well I say advanced, it's not advanced, but there is a thing that you can do which isn't too difficult. It's not amazingly difficult, too amazingly difficult to do. So we're going to cover it here because I need to see. So we're going to see if we can get this statue here to match up the stone that's here, but still retain its details. We're going to see if we can do that. And the first thing we need to do is we're just going to click off that, but we're going to keep this over here, just in the corner for now. Rest up this. So right, here it is a slightly more advanced way to do a texture swap. Though you will need a archive extractor which you can get from Nexus mods. I think it's like BA2 Extractor or something like that. I can't quite remember what it's called, but I think it's like BA2 Extractor. Type it, if you go into Nexus, type that in the search bar when you go into Skyrim Special Edition, and it'll probably be near enough basically the first result comes up. So first off, we'll cover a basic texture swap, because you can do a basic texture swap straight off the bat without needing to extract textures from the BSA files. To do that, again, we click on edit. Then, as you can see here, we got alternate textures. So something we could do is right click on that, click new, and then we got a whole long list of stuff here. Now these are all texture sets. Some of them will work well on things, some of them will not work too well on things. But the only thing is though, that is this doesn't have every single texture in the game. It only has there is still, don't get wrong, there's still a lot. But obviously it's only a certain amount. So one thing we can do, say for example, is we can put in the filter, and we're going to put Nordic. So we got Nordic rug, the rug. I don't want the Nordic rug, that's going to look stupid on the statue. So we're going to type in bronze. So we got the basic, what is Nordic bronze pots. So we're going to double click on this. And then there we go. And then we have a texture swap. Now we could use this, but it looks a bit. So if you don't like it, you can just easily just right click on it again, delete, and then it reverts back to its previous texture. So what about a slightly more advanced texture swap? Once again, you will need the BA2 extractor from Nexus mods. What's going to end up happening is you can extract the textures from these here. So you can extract the textures from these texture BSA files. And in the end, what will end up happening is that you can end up basically getting yourself, extracting them into a extra folder here, which I've called, for now, I've just called extract textures. We got textures, and then now I have basically access to pretty much basically every single goddamn texture in the game. Simple as. But we're looking for the one here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to DLC 2, and then we're going to go to Dungeons, and then we're going to go to Dwemer folder, because there's like 15,000 things in this now. And as you can see, we got the stone texture here. We got a good old stone textures. You got diffuse maps, normal gloss maps, a whole lot of other technical computer jargon mumbo jumbo, which I don't fully know the mumbo jumbo with it, but I know the basics of how to get these textures actually into the goddamn fucking thing. So, how are we going to create a new texture set? So to create a new texture set, no wait, don't worry about that disappearing because it's just basically in the background. We're going to go to miscellaneous. And we're going to go to texture set. We're just going to get rid of statue, put that in the box. Right. And here is basically what all the texture sets that you have instant access to. But of course, I wouldn't mess around with these unless you know what you're doing, as you could bugger up a load of textures in the game fairly easily if you start messing around with everything. So what we're going to do is we're just going to duplicate, again right click and then duplicate, and we're going to duplicate this one. So we're going to open this up and we come into this menu. Lovely. Now obviously, as you can see, we've already got some stuff in it, and it's like la 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 la, look at that, lovely 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 lovely. So how do we get rid? What you gotta literally just do is just go to image, then go to cancel, and then bosh, it disappears. Image, cancel, bosh, done, nice and easy, end over. Right, so now how do we put in a new texture? So what we're going to do is we're going to basically going to highlight. There's a few different ways that people will go around doing this. I'm just going to do this because I'm always going to have to explain how it's done. So when you select that, you basically you're going to bring up this. Now the way that this works is you need to go basically to the folder, find out what you want, bada bing bada bing bada bosh, bum 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 bum, done. So let's say we're going to use this one because I think this one's got like a little square in it, so we're going to use the one that doesn't have the little square in it. What we're going to do is you're just going to right click on that, rename, right click on it again, copy. Now this is the bit where you need to remember exactly how to type it. So then we're going to go to the one that opened when we clicked on this, and we are going to basically paste that in. Once you've got this here in, you're going to put .dds because it always has to end in .dds. But there is a few other things we need to write in first. So the way that this works is you have to type it in as like a bit like of a string of ways for it to open up folders. So what you're going to type in for this one specifically, but each one will work in the same way. It just depends. It all depends on what, and it all hinges basically on whatever comes after textures. So you can ignore. You don't have to type that, or this, or that, or this, or that. It's anything after this, so I will need to type in this, and this, and this. So, we are going to go back to the one we originally were on, this one, and we are going to type in DLC02, we're going to make sure that's correct, so DLC02, and it has to be exactly the same as far as I'm aware of how it is here. You can't like make it capital letters and stuff like that. It has to be how it is here. So once you've got that first one typed in, you need to actually put in a backslash like this. So you're not putting in the forward slash, you're putting in a backward slash. So we've got DLC02 backslash, then back again. Well, look, then you type in in this case we're typing dungeons backslash Dwemer backslash, so we will check it just to make sure, and we got that spelled correctly, yeah, and then open, and then there you go. So then as you can see here, we got DLC02 backslash dungeons backslash Dwemer backslash the name of the DDS picture we want, and then after that and then at the end .dds, and then we're done. Now you might as well, we got some differences. We got you got this one here. But then you also got this one here, which is the same as this, but it's purple. But it has a different kind of ending. It's got an underscore N. Now that N, for example, will match up with this one, normal. Now at this point, this next bit is a lot easier. We just basically highlight this, right click, copy, go to normal gloss, click on image, go to here, right click, paste, and then after 01 in this case we are going to put an underscore N, open, and that's it. We're done now. And that's basically a slightly more advanced way of doing texture swaps with using textures that you don't normally have access to. Obviously, if you kind of want to have a go at it, but you're still a bit, but you haven't tried it before, yeah, I would recommend that you sort of like maybe just watch this bit a couple of times, just so then you get a full, if you're not entirely sure, just to make sure you fully understand what you need to do. And then after that, just mess around, have a little mess around with textures, and just see what works and what doesn't work. Now that we've done that, now we can add probably might be able to add in more to a lot of things, but I'm not going to worry about that. We just got the basic stuff we want, and now we're going to go basically just change this to 0 cities statue texture. Click OK. When you create a new object, and when you duplicate an object and then you change its editor ID, you will get this option here. This little box will come up here. You want to click on no, then yes, and then there you go. There's the new texture set. Now we can go back over to here. We can go on to edit, right click, new, and then there is our new texture set there. Double click on that, and there you go. We got the new texture. Now, obviously, that is still not looking right to me. So what we can do, example, is now reopen this. See, this is where experimentation comes in. So we want to change this here. We want to change the normal gloss here. So what we're going to do is we are going to go back to our texture files, and we are just basically going to go click on textures, and then we are going to go to clutter, and then we are going to go and find that statue. Now we need to just have a look a little around. As you can see, there's a lot of folders, so it will take us sometimes. It will take a little bit of time to actually find the one you're looking for. Click on this, and you can have a look in here. So we've got statue Mara, Debella, Talos, Bamina, Iskrelmore, Irishi, Malakath, this, blah blah blah. Now the only problem is the one we're looking for is not in here. So we need to find out what subcategory it comes under. So we are going to put in statue again, go back to static. Now instead of clicking on static like that, we are actually going to basically now, what we are going to actually do is we are going to basically click on every single one of these until we find the one that we are looking for, which is the main statue. Obviously it's not going to be part of that. It's not a part of that. It is in architecture. So we can now go back to here, go back to textures, go to architecture, go to Winterhold, and then here we are, the main statue. Bada bing, bada boom. So we now need to change this. So we click on an image, we delete that, and then we just basically we are basically going to type in architecture backslash Winterhold backslash mage statue underscore n dot dds. So let's just, so I'll be back once I've actually got that written in. Alright, so I've got it written in, and we've now got this now as the main statue. So we click OK, we go to edit, we're going to remove that one for now, get it back on there, and we're going to basically go back to it and put it on, and we're going to see if there's any change. Unfortunately, no, but now you can experiment around to make sure. Sometimes you'll be able to get definition on things and stuff like this and stuff like that. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bosh. But we want basically, so but I want this statue to have the same kind of texture as the dwelling room here. We've got that, and then now we're done, and then we just change the actual editor ID, and then click OK, no, yes, and then bosh, and then there's our statue. So yeah, again with that kind of texture swap, or even the simple texture swap, you know, experiment around, because sometimes they do work in different ways. It depends on what texture, it depends on what item you're trying to do the texture swap on. Will sometimes define what textures work and which ones don't. But now that we got our statue in, we are going to basically place that in. Bosh. We are going to basically find the center of the room. This. So we are going to say it's about here. Actually, maybe move it forward a little bit. There you go. Alright, so there's our statue. Lovely, lovely, lovely statue. Right, so the next thing we're going to sort out is the candlelight. So, since this place is supposed to be underwater, you know, we can't have fire. But there will be rooms later on in the series of this where we will have fire in the Sunken City, but that's because they're not underwater. But this first part is, though when you go in game, you will be able to walk around like it isn't. We're just creating an illusion that it's underwater because of game mechanics. Right, so we want candlelight. Now we're not talking about like literal candlelight by using lighting to get a candle. We're talking about the actual literal visual representation of the magic candlelight. And to find that, we click on magic, we get rid of statue from the filter, and then as you can see, for example, we look here, and then here we go, we've got a nice little magic effect. Ooh, you even got the shanks. Ooh, look at that. Anyway, enough for me being a dumbass. So we're looking for candlelight. So we're gonna look down, and we're gonna just have a look around to see if we can find candlelights anywhere. Apparently no. So we've got alteration, so we can have a look at a few different ones. See what we got. We got some kind of weird blue thing there. We got illusion light. That's kind of a swirly wordy thing. So it does seem to be different. Now this one doesn't seem to be here, so we're going to put in candle. Now we could look in movable static, but as you can see, nothing. We click on static, and then as you can see, we've got a load of candles. There's a whole load of different kind of bloody candles. So they're bloody all over the place. Now, that doesn't seem to be anything there. So what we could try and do is we could type it in mage, and then we have nothing there either. Oh, this is fun, isn't it? So fun. So we can have a look at all around. So we got this splash, and then obviously we got a problem. If we're having a bit of a problem that we can't seem to find what the hell we're actually looking for, we could just click on all. But what I'm going to do, just to define it, is click on candlelight. Then click on all, and then here we go. We got a whole load of other stuff. Now unfortunately, it does seem to be that for some reason I can't actually seem to find candlelight. So we could try and look in that mage light. And we do not have, you see, I could put in this, but the problem is this is the actual light source. This isn't the actual visual representation of light. So we do have to look for an alternative for that one, because that one just does not want to turn up. So we go back to this. So we obviously can't use alteration, that one doesn't work. So we need to find an alternative. because apparently thing doesn't want to work. So that's the actual ward. So we don't want that one. That's not what we're looking for. Let's spell out. We don't want that because that's not what we're looking for either. So in the case of this, we got light spell. Maybe that might be the one. There we go. Because I'm looking for Candlelight. Yeah, we're not looking for Candlelight. We are looking for light spell because I am dumb. Very, very dumb. But so we found it. Finally. So even when you've been doing this for ages, when you've been doing this for a few years, like what I have, even now, sometimes you will start. I know I struggle to find some of the things I'm looking for sometimes. So don't be worried or get frustrated if you're struggling to find something, because sometimes the editor IDs don't always match it to what you want it to be, or you just miss it, or you don't think about it when you see it. So you know, if you can't find something, don't get all frustrated about it or annoyed by it. Just leave it for the time being, move on to something else, and then come back to it. So we finally found it, so we're going to drag it into here, and then boom. Right, so we have that in there. Now one thing you can do, for example, is we can run this up here, the run havoc sim. When you do that, as you can see, it is now animated actually inside the render window. So the reason why we want to do that is we want to basically just get it in there. We want to, you know, make it just a bit bigger, just a little bit bigger, but making sure that we don't make it too big and all, because sometimes with so many animations, they might have things that go way, like, you know, fly from here to over there, and if you make it too big, it could look really, really odd. So we want to make sure, you know, it's not looking too blasé. So then we duplicate it. And then we're going to use that, and we're just going to move it over and bring it over the other hand. We can obviously adjust up to here. So we can try moving it once more. To me, that doesn't look right there, so we're going to put it there, and there we go. There is our statue with the light, and we're going to just turn off the havoc sim and then bosh. Okay, so obviously this episode is going to end up being a lot longer than I was probably originally thinking. Lovely for me. Alright, so we got the statue and we got the light. Next, we need hanging moss. Now, here comes the fun part, the creating the illusion of underwaterness. We need to now type in here, not moose. I was just about to type moose for some reason. Is that like that? It's a moose. No, we need moss. So moss we can find somewhere. We can find it anywhere. Dun dun dun. But no, the moss we'll most likely find it in the tree section. And then here we are. So we got our hanging moss. And then, you know, you bring it in. Okay, there we go. Boss, moss. Lovely. But here's the thing. This is for hanging upwards, you know, so it's drooping down. But if it was in water, it wouldn't do that. It would start lifting up. But the reason why we're bringing in hanging moss is not to use it as moss. We're actually bringing it in to use it as seaweed. But the problem is, this one, the one I got here, you know, this one wouldn't work as seaweed. Look at it. Seaweed doesn't really do that really as such. So what we're just going to do, we're going to do Old Faithful of C or X, doesn't really matter which one we pick here. Hold on to the right mouse button, and then direct it around, and then bang. There we go. There is our moss. Now we can press the F button, not to pay respects. It's still alive, but to bring it down to the ground. But as you can see, this one, it did sort of like, I've just turned off the snap grid, and there's a reason for that. But as you can see, It's lowered a little bit too much for my liking, so I'm just going to bring it up. But I'm not going to bring it up so it's like that. I'm just going to bring it up so we got it, say, like so. Alright, and there we go. So we have a little piece of hanging moss. So we're going to bring in a second one. And we're going to do the same. We're going to flip it around. We're going to bring it up a little bit. And we're going to just, you know, give it a little twist. And then we're going to bring in the last one. We're going to have a little bit of a look at it. Just to see how big it is. We're going to see how big this one actually is, because I don't know how big this one actually is. See, this one is not very big, but we can still use it. And we're going to do that. There we go. Bosh. Alright. So we've got 3 pieces of moss. Now, yes, wonderful illusion of underwaterness there. 3 pieces of the seaweed. Way. But what we're going to do is we are basically, this is what we're going to do. There's a couple of ways of doing this. So I'm going to show you basically what's probably more likely than that most people will do it. We're going to go down to the south view window, and we are going to say click on hanging moss number 1. As you see, when I clicked on that, the bounding box moved to the first one we placed. Now, if you hold the control or CTRL button and then press the left mouse button, it highlights the next, and then do it again, highlights again, and bosh. So then you've got 3 items selected. If you're selecting loads of items, what you can do is highlight the first one, hold shift, the shift button, and then click on the last item you would want to grab in your list, and then if you do that, it grabs all 3. So now we got all 3 of them highlighted like this. What we can do now is we can right click on any of these 3, and then we right click and duplicate, and then we can move it, and then as you can see we have 3 more pieces of so-called seaweed, and then we can just rotate it by basically holding the right mouse button down without pressing anything else on the keyboard, and then you can just spin it around and rotate. And also I've turned off the snap angle because I want to make it, you know, I want to get it to like, so it's not always 45 degrees kind of thing, blah 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 blah. So right, so that's that. So I'm going to fill this up with some seaweed, some kelp, which I believe is also found within the tree section, in the ways of, I think it will be found in landscape. And so I'll be back once I've got some of the plant life into the... Alright, and we are back, and as you can see I have now added just a little bit of this here. Now I did do one thing whilst not recording. I did actually remove what I originally put in the ways of the hanging moss, and I duplicated that hanging moss and just changed the name, so it was now when you come to actually grab it, it's actually called seaweed rather than hanging moss. But that's the only change. And as you can see, I also put in some kelp, which does actually also have some movement, even though the hammock sim isn't running, but it always moves anyway. Now if you can run the hammock sim, you can see actually everything has a bit of movement, even the hanging moss has a little bit of a sway. Alright, so that's that one, just a little bit of stuff just to add in some little tiny bits and pieces. So now that we've got that in, he also, let's have a look, so Dragon Blade is also instructing, because he's the director here for this Sunken City. These things that normally hold fire in, but this time it is candlelight instead of fire. So basically a brazier, basically, or brazier, however you want to pronounce it. So we want to add a brazier. So what we can do is we can type it in a brazier, and then click on static, and we can see what we've got. So we have a couple on the door. We have this one. We also have this one. And we also apparently have this one. Yeah. Okay, so we got, you know, we got a couple of selections. So, the question is where does he want me to actually put them? Okay, so he wants me to put him by the door, by the looks of his diagram. He wants me to put it by the door. Right. I will say, fortunately, now I could put them here. Well, now this is why I could like experiment around with different kind of ones and just to sort of like see what you can come up with. Apart from that one, let's probably start all the way up here for some reason. I don't know why. Let's have a look. Where is it? Oh no, there it is. It's like miles over to the bloody right hand side for some reason. Why? Why do you do that to me? Browse here. Just bring it up. Get it to where we want to be. No, that's going to do my nothing. So we are just going to get another one in because the camera on that one's been all odd and funky, apparently. So we can bring that in there, and we'll just have a look. So we just need to bring it in, zoom in the camera by using the mouse wheel. Don't want that, get off. Okay, so we got this here. So we're going to just bring this back to about here, I think. We're going to duplicate that, and we're going to bring this over to here. Where we'll match up. Yep. Okay. So we got that there, and then so obviously I'm going to want to think about adding a couple more than just that because I think technically they would actually have more than that in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the other one. A slightly different one, because we want to go with a slightly different design, and we're going to place one there. Actually, we'll bring the cord, and then bump. And then go to here, go to the other side, put it there, and then put it in the centre. There we go. Bosh. Lovely jubbly. So we've got them there. So also, they also have Candlelight, because apparently everybody has Candlelight these days, apparently. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this. And I need to actually remember if I'm actually recording. Am I recording here? OBS? Please tell me I am. OBS? Yes, I am. Okay. Crisis averted. I am actually recording. Because I'm old and forgetful, right? So we're going to bring this in. And we're just going to lower this down. I'm just going to bring it up above. Because as you see there, it was actually miles away. Even though it kind of looked like I was actually near in the centre of it. So we're just going to bring it down until it starts clipping. Alright, so we're clipping there. And that's about the centre. We're going to bring it down by a couple, I think, just like that. Okay. So we're going to duplicate that. I'm going to move that over there. Make sure it's centred, because we want to, we want to keep, we want to keep things symmetrical. Yeah. Alright, so we're going to move this over. Bada bing, bada boom, bump, bosh. Bam. We are going to actually just lower that by a couple. Go. And then we're going to duplicate that. And we're going to move that over to here. And we can't really see it. And then we're going to put it to here. And then there we go. There are some forms of Mage Light. And right. And then after that, the last one is a door without a door. Well, you can't have a door without a door, because a door is a door, and a door without a door is nothing. But I'm gonna guess, because I do have, because I would have to bear in mind as well, that Jargon Blading is German, so sometimes his English might be a little bit off in places. But he's acknowledged that anyway, and it's like, yeah, it's not your first language. Obviously, sometimes you're translating a language that isn't your native language. You might make a mistake here and there anyway, so it's perfectly fine. So what I think is basically he's just basically asking for something like this, basically just a hallway. It's a door without a door. It's a doorway without a door. Because a doorway without a door is still a doorway. It's just or a big hole. Could be a big hole. So I'm going to presume that is what he's thinking. So right. So now, what we're going to do, we're going to quickly save this. So now, as about the moment, that is what I've got as direction for this room. But obviously, it still doesn't look very underwater. So I'm going to go and do a bunch of stuff now. Still using the same kind of method as I've been showing you in the video, in the ways of like using the filter bar, clicking on categories where I think they would normally be, or using Alt tab, and just typing in certain things relating to water and things you can find in water, this, that and the other, to decorate this out. So I will be back once I have decorated this room out in the way that I believe will make it look much more like you are under the water. Alright, and here we are. Obviously, as you can see, I've also I've done a little bit of lighting. Lighting I will cover in a future video because the video's probably been going on for long enough. So lighting will cover further down the line. But here we are. Here is the entry hall. See, we've actually now got some clams, we've got some barnacles, we've got some like little bits of like some kind of like swirling mist, and trying getting some like kind of things that kind of look kind of bubblish in ways of like actually using this stuff here, these vexed beams, just to try and give an illusion that you're kind of underwater. But of course, obviously, and the last thing, obviously, is the elephant in the room, is the apparent flying fish. As you can see, as you can see, we've got some fishes, we've got some salmon, so-called swimming around the place, So, which obviously, now, in the ways that Dragon Blade is so far been directing this one, there will be some rooms that won't look like this and will look more normal. There'll be reasons why that is, but not every single room in the Sunken City will technically have water in it. Some will actually be water-free rooms, technically. But a large majority of it will have this kind of effect to it. Now obviously, I might make some slight little alterations further down the line. Dragon Blade might also suggest to me some changes to this, to this first room, because no doubt he will probably see this video and want to see how it, just to get an idea of how things might look. But yeah, so here is the entry hall. I haven't done all of this up here yet. But I'll probably end up doing off camera at some point, where it's, where we're coming to do like the last finalisation and stuff like that. But the entry hall is something obviously we will come to do, and this, that and the other, and I do need to put a lift in here, but that we will cover as well when we kind of basically sort out all the stuff to do with doors and connecting doors and this and the other. So one thing that I've now just noticed is I do need to move this lot over here a little bit, just a little bit. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab this, we're going to do this, there we go, and then we're just going to move, we're going to put that grid on, we're going to just move this over ever so slightly this direction, until we are basically good. We are good. So yeah, so in the final video of this series, which unfortunately I don't exactly know how many videos they're going to be, but we will be doing a video near the end, basically where I'm doing like finalizations and this, that and the other, where like areas like this will be also finished. But at the moment we're just mainly concentrating on just the actual rooms themselves rather than all the corridors and stuff, because that's for later on, just to make my life a little bit easier and bosh. But yeah, here is the first room. So that's it for this video. I was hoping this to be a little bit shorter, it's probably as long as talk. But yeah, so hopefully you have learnt if you're kind of new to modding and don't know how to do certain things, hopefully this gives you a rough idea of one, how I create things, or how other modders will also create things. Two, gives you a general idea of just how it's done anyway. And three, hopefully you might have learned a couple of bits and pieces and this, that, and the other. Because again, these are acting as kind of like tutorial videos, but they're not directly tutorial. But I obviously will be explaining how certain things are done, this, that, and the other, throughout this entire series. But yeah, there we go. There is the entry hall. So that's it for this video. So if you like this video, please remember to leave it a like. Why not subscribe to the channel, see what other videos I've done to do with Skyrim, anyways, any kind of like mod reviews, or if you want to keep up with this series as well, obviously you can do that as well. Bada bing bada boom, nice and easy. If you got any suggestions for mods for me to have a look at, leave them in the comments below. If you have any questions about the creation kit, leave them in the comments below, and if I'm able to give you an answer, I'll give you an answer. If not, I will try and direct you to a modder or a web page that has an answer for you, kind of thing, just to help you out a little bit. But right, so it's time for me to get out of here. So until next time, I'll see you all later.